Game toys, merchandise, and Lego sets are finally here, and thankfully I managed to get all 5 of the sets yesterday. So beginning with the Iron Man Hall of Armor, the set number for this one is 76125. Recommended ages are 7 and up, and it has piece count of 524, while the price point is $59.99. This set, of course, being the massive Iron Man 3 set that could potentially mean that the Avengers will be traveling back to Iron Man 3 in 2013, or it could just mean nothing at all, and that maybe Tony's gonna die and Lego wanted to do a really nice Iron Man set to send him off. Who knows? We really don't know and will not know the circumstances surrounding this set until we actually see the movie in about 3 weeks here. But these sets are finally out, guys. Check your Targets, check your Walmarts. They could still be in the back because they are still very new, and the street date did just now lift. But it's just crazy that we are now almost at the end of the Infinity Saga, and I am now beginning to review what is the final wave of Avengers sets for the original team. That's just kind of crazy to put into context and to think about after all these years since 2012, really since the MCU first began. This could be it. And that's just, I don't know. I think that's just crazy to think about. So anyway, you can totally grab all of the new LEGO Avengers Endgame sets through my Amazon affiliate link down below if you want to support the channel while picking up the new sets. But with all that said, let's get started. First off, included with this set, we have the Iron Man Mark 50 from Avengers Infinity War carried over into the Hall of Armor, and this minifigure is still just as good as it was last year. Obviously, this time minus the air flaps build that we saw in the Thanos Ultimate Showdown or whatever it was called, but the designs are still just as fantastic, and all of the printing is still just as great. Still one of the best Iron Man minifigures we have ever had, and just to give you a really nice look at the torso once again there, still, again, like I said, looking awesome, and it's really great to have this minifigure back. As you can see, we have the eyes printed in blue once again, and the face mask does flip up to reveal Tony's HUD underneath, which was introduced last year, and finally Rhodey was given one as well, which will be appearing in the War Machine Buster for the first time in an official LEGO set, so I'm excited to show you that one. But Tony has his back once again, and turning it around, you can see we have the more recent Robert Downey Jr. face that was debuted with the Infinity War sets and included with this set as part of LEGO's recent trend to include hair pieces. We've got a black sleepy hair piece for Tony Stark, and I think that is really awesome. That comes as a secondary accessory that can be clipped on to the actual set itself, which you'll kind of see, I think, in a little bit. But yeah, this minifigure is really great, and it's awesome to have it back. Unfortunately, I'm not nearly as excited over the debut of the Iron Man Mark 1. This armor, after waiting many, many years for LEGO to one day make it as a minifigure, is here to disappoint. And I know not everybody will agree. I know a lot of people won't even care, but for me, the helmet really ruins this minifigure because I just don't think this works. When you look at the Iron Man Mark 1 helmet and you look at the repurposed Invincible Iron Man helmet that LEGO used here, especially when looking at the back and the sides with the round earmuffs, this doesn't work. And for me, it really ruins the minifigure. Ultimately, it doesn't really matter. I mean, I have my own custom one. Obviously, this one is a little bit more intense and kind of insane and not something you would find in a LEGO set. But what I'm saying is I hope LEGO would have at least taken a page out of their own book and made a new helmet like the one we saw in LEGO Marvel Superheroes. Maybe a torso piece or chest armor is asking a little too much. Maybe LEGO can't do that. Okay, but a helmet. A good helmet would have been great. I mean, and this for me just doesn't do it. I know it doesn't bother a lot of you, but a helmet like this, but in LEGO's Chrome, I think would have been great. But unfortunately, that's not what we have here. Instead, what LEGO has opted to use is a repurposed version of the Invincible Iron Man helmet, just in silver. And if you don't know what these helmets are, if you haven't seen them in a while, they debuted with these two guys back in 2017, and then LEGO repurposed them for the Vulture, and it kind of worked okay for him. They also used this helmet in the Tron set, and now they're using it here, and this has got to be the worst rehash of this helmet since the Wasp from last year. I just really hope LEGO stops abusing this helmet because this is just not working, man. But what I do have to commend them on is the printing. The printing on this helmet is still fantastic nonetheless, and the printing on the torso, the design of the torso, the printing on the legs and its design, I mean, just really, really well done. I absolutely love all the printing on the minifigure despite the helmet, especially on the back. I mean, you can just tell somebody clearly put a lot of time into that design, and I really appreciate that because it's super accurate and it looks fantastic. The wires, the canister, poster, the Stark text, all of it. It's just really, really great. It's just, again, the helmet that really is a letdown for me. Next up, though, this is a lot more exciting. Getting back on track, we have the Mark 41 Bones armor, a minifigure that I just absolutely never expected to have as an official LEGO minifigure, and it is just so great here. Of course, these minifigures, they don't have the double molded boots or arm printing or anything of the sort like that, anything too fancy. But listen, man, a brand new print on a brand new face mask, you know, designs like this on the torso and leg printing that goes, you know, from top to bottom is more than enough for me with an Iron Man suit, and I really appreciate what LEGO did here. I really don't think this minifigure could have been much better. I mean, to really drive home the point of just how good those torso designs are, I mean, just look at that. Get a good look at how much detail is on that design. That is just fantastic. I love stuff like this, and it only continues down onto the legs. I mean, just phenomenal. And then even more so on the back, all that detail just continuing. Again, somebody clearly took a while and spent a lot of time on that design, which is really fantastic. The helmet obviously molded in black. Again, like I mentioned, brand new print on the face mask, and I think that's awesome. That flips up, and then underneath, if you couldn't already tell, the Iron Man Mark 1 for these suits that are not occupied. We do have some clear heads, which are nice to have for these minifigures as well. But other than that, that is it for the debut of the Mark 41 Bones. And if you kind of want to, you could of course take it apart and kind of, you know, play out its functionality. If you don't remember in Iron Man 3 how it would, you know, it would come apart and then attack all the extremis soldiers. So yeah, our final Iron Man suit, though, is easily the best minifigure in this set, right up next to the Iron Man Mark 50, which, you know, this is of course a rehash from Infinity War. But as for you know, new Iron Man suits, man, the debut of the Mark V suitcase armor was one that I never thought would come to fruition. This is actually a minifigure that exists now, an official Iron Man Mark V from Iron Man 2. Oh man. I mean, again, just like Bones receiving the same treatment, so we have a brand new print on the face mask. We have a fantastic new print on the torso. Excellent design with some fantastic gray highlights running throughout the silver. Super accurate as well. All of that only continuing onto the legs. I mean, just a fantastic pair of legs, man. There is just nothing to complain about here. This is I don't think this minifigure could be much better. I really don't. I mean, and then the back of the torso, again, all that detail and that design work and just all of it continuing there, just so awesome. Again, clear head underneath because Tony is not in it. But I've got to say, man, I wish we actually got the suitcase. So in the Malibu Mansion back in like 2013 for Iron Man 3, we actually got the Mark V's suitcase, but not the Mark V itself like we have now. And so now we actually have the Mark V, but no suitcase. It's not included with this set, which I think is kind of a bummer and kind of makes me want to go find out what I did with that set. I know I busted it down, but I want to know what I did with that suitcase now, because it's like we have the figure, and now I'm missing the suitcase, but so awesome to finally have this as an official fig. Lastly, we've got the Outriders back again after Infinity War, making their return for Endgame here. These are not the ones that feature the new claw pieces or anything new like that. These are just the standard ones carried over from Infinity War. We have a couple of them included for this set, and so you do get 2 Outriders included with the Iron Man Hall of Armor, which is, I think, honestly kind of generous. So I think that's really great. Again, the printing on these guys still just as good as it was in 2018 on the front of the head, on the front of the torso. A lot of people use this for a comic accurate Wasp, which I thought was pretty cool. You know, all that detail continuing onto the back a little bit. Of course, you have this apparatus that they introduced, which has, you know, the 4 droid arms connected to it to make up for their 6 arms that they have. So I think this is, you know, really great to have back. Of course, all of these on a hinge, so they are all, you know, fully posable. In case you haven't seen these Outriders before, all these arms can be adjusted, and then the neck brace just, you know, lowered back over on top of the torso, and there's the back again, in case you haven't seen that either. So that is pretty much it for the minifigures included with this set, though, guys. Who knows if it's actually indicative of anything that's going on in the movie, considering we have, you know, 3 Infinity War minifigures in the form of the Mark 50 and these 2 Outriders appearing in what is basically an Iron Man 3 set, but probably means nothing. So let's talk about LEGO's Igor armor, the Iron Man Mark 38. I never thought this would be a thing, and honestly, I was among the few who was actually kind of looking forward to this. I mean, when looking at the set pictures when those first came out, I honestly thought this was going to be better. But now having it in person, it is unfortunate because this is, first of all, not an easy design to pull off, let alone giving it any sort of functionality and then making that into a retail version that can be stuffed into a product like this. So I understand why the design is the way it is and why they built the the whole thing around the feature of being able to see the minifigure inside. But that doesn't take away from the fact that it is still mostly disappointing just from a visual standpoint. It's too wide. The arms come out too far. You know, it looks very awkward from the side, especially at the top. You know, it's too boxy. You have too much mass on the top too. I mean, really, that's not there in the movie. So I don't know what all this nonsense is about at the top there. It's all very unnecessary and just kind of, you know, creates a roof essentially, which I understand, but it still does look weird. So, you know, I had Tyler Kleit's Legoholic. I commissioned him to build an Igor armor, and this was actually the second version that him and I went through back then. And we tried to make it to scale. And I'm bringing this in just as an example of how it's not easy to make the Mark 38 Igor brick built and to scale. Because while this is to scale, you can see how the proportions and the overall design still wasn't perfect. But he certainly did his best back then. And I just thought this was definitely a really interesting example to bring into contrast with what Lego did here in this retail version. And so essentially the main feature, you fold up the top, a couple hinges there, and then the bottom half also folds down with a couple points of articulation. But one of those points of articulation is a ball joint, and you can see ball joints all over this piece, this whole build. But I don't know why Lego used a ball joint here. This should have been a hinge, because essentially when you fold this up, it can be slanted. And I don't appreciate that, and I don't see why this was necessary to do, and probably something that I'll change if I ever care. But there are a couple clips here for the second point of articulation, and then essentially, as advertised, you can take the Iron Man Mark 50, move these slopes out of the way, which are also adjustable by use of a couple hinges, put him right there, and then fold those back over, close it up, again, try to line that up as best as you can because of the ball joint kind of throwing it off. And then that's it. I thought that he was going to be concealed a little bit better than that, but he's not. You know, and otherwise, it's pretty well articulated. You have the shoulder articulation, you have the elbow articulation here, all just a couple ball joints. Same for this arm. You have the articulated thighs here, again, more ball joints, and then you have the articulated knees, and then also you have the articulated toes even with a couple hinges there, and a couple clips, which I appreciate. It really helps to balance it out. And, you know, the articulation is all fantastic, so there is that. The detail, again, is also really fantastic because you have, a really great set of stickers, one on each arm and one on each thigh, which really do a lot to add more detail. Those stripes are, pretty important to Igor's design. But, the final big problem that I have with Lego's Igor here is you have this really fantastic 1x2 printed tile for the eyes. That's a print. And then the rest of the faceplate is just this angular piece that we've seen before, but I don't think it works. It's just too long because I really feel like it should have cut off here. Igor's head is not that big. His faceplate is not that long. And it's so long, it just kind of looks like a tongue. I mean, it's just too long for my taste. And it's not like you can easily change that, because if you swap this out with the 1x2 like smooth tile, you just kind of lose all the depth of this angled piece here. So it is kind of a lose-lose situation with the faceplate. And so overall, it is disappointing, but it is also understandable. Personally, I recommend you hop over on eBay, and Lego purists are going to hate me for this, but grab yourself one of these. It is a knockoff version of the Igor armor. It is a knockoff Big Fig. It's really cool and incredibly well designed. Articulated arms and hands. And I've been personally looking forward to displaying this with my Hall of Armor a lot more than Lego's actual build. So if you're not a Lego purist and you're open to something like this, this is damn near close to Lego quality, and I highly recommend it. But other than that, that's Lego's Mark 38, something I never thought they would ever do. All right, so now to finally, on a less disappointing note, to get started on the actual Iron Man Hall of Armor. I just want to talk about all the smaller stuff first and get all of those things out of the way so we can actually get to what's really cool and all the different things you can customize with this set. This entire set really just promotes customization. That is the whole purpose here, and I think it's great. So, with that being said, you can see the entire Hall of Armor has these 1x2 spaces in front of each major section, and that's where you can add these little white accessories. They're basically just bricks with clips attached to them that allow for additional space for accessories. So removing these for now, so I can just talk about them and get them out of the way. We also have the jetpack one here in the middle. We're going to push the actual Hall of Armor back for a second. So this main brick that's found in the center, you can see is a jetpack, and for whatever reason, Lego on the box promotes the idea of taking this jetpack from this brick found in the center, and then taking the Iron Man Mark 50, who we have to pull out of the Igor really quick, and then pulling the head off here from the Mark 50, and then giving Iron Man, Tony, you know, who's already in an Iron Man suit, a jetpack to help him fly in his Iron Man suit, because Lego logic. So that's great. And I got a good laugh out of that one. But then you also have this section, which you saw further over to the left. And this one has a stud shooter clipped into the top. And whatever that thing is, I've honestly never really known. So we're going to go ahead and take the stud shooter off, because it's actually also advertised on the box. So you're supposed to give him the stud shooter as well. So I guess this is kind of like Lego's version of his proton cannon from the Mark 50, I guess, or something. But that's what you're supposed to do with those two accessories found on these two particular sections. You also have a couple fire pieces included, and then you have this one, which is just another brick with a couple clips, but this one has a wrench on it, so that's pretty great. Taking that one and putting that one aside, though, we also have a 2x4 white brick, and this one actually has a blender on it. So I guess, Pepper is making Tony go on a health cleanse or something crazy. But now that we got them pretty much all done and out of the way, and really quick, just to demonstrate, of course, this lightning thing, whatever it is, can also be removed. And even on the box, they advertise him holding this as well and basically dual wielding these two things. So I don't really know what that's about, but apparently this is what you're supposed to do. But taking all of this and moving it out of the way, like I said, talk about a couple more things here in the form of Dummy. R.I.P. Dummy did not survive Iron Man 3, but he's back here in spirit for Avengers Endgame. You can see this is a really nice build. I don't know if this is the same one as the Polybag Dummy. You guys can let me know in the comments. I imagine it is, but you can see it's really cool. Very simple build with the wheels on the bottom, Technic pieces being used for those with some studs connected in, and then you also have a fire extinguisher clipped into the droid arm, so that's great. Taken straight out of the original Iron Man movies, and I love that. With a couple points of articulation, actually 3 if you also include the droid arm, so that's really nice. But yeah, so taking him and rolling him out of the way, because he can kind of roll with the studs there, which is really cool. We also have this entire separate station, which is really nice, and this can actually be hooked in to the Hall of Armor, which I'll show you in a minute. But the idea here is, and we'll use the Iron Man Mark V for this demonstration, essentially you have a rotating chair here, which is really nice, and you also have another cup there. You got a lot of different coffee cups that are being needed for this set. Tony really needs the caffeine when he's busy creating new suits, new elements, and things of that nature. We have a bunch of tiles here, but actually we'll go ahead and remove the Iron Man Mark V to give you a better look at those tiles. And it's really awesome. You can see the one on the left says System Error, Intruder Alert, indicating that the Outriders are attacking, which is pretty cool. Potential spoiler territory, but I doubt it. And then on the next screen we have Blocked Caller, and of course that is Philip J. Coulson, Phil Coulson, the man himself, from the original phase 1 of the MCU and his entire series. So that's really cool. I love that. Called back to the original Avengers. We have another screen here, which is pretty much just like a giant holographic keypad, which is really cool. I love that whole keyboard aesthetic. And then on the far right here, we have Jarvis. All those screens are really great. This little station, this table is really great. Putting the Mark V back in that seat though temporarily, we can finally discuss the actual Hall of Armor. So getting started here, we have the platform from Iron Man 3 equipped with a couple of robot arms. Essentially, you have a really cool looking platform here, definitely cooler than it actually looked in the movie, with a couple jumper plates on top for a minifigure. You can put him on the jumper plate and essentially adjust and customize and move these robot arms around, because they are connected in with a couple ball joints, and then they do have a couple additional points of articulation in the form of these hinges in the middle, and then the droid arms on the top, which can reach Tony and are really great for more potential with playability. And I love that. And essentially, this is our first point of customization for this set, because this entire section can easily be removed and is only connected by one little axle here. And so this is where you can take this, put it aside, and then bring in the desk that I just showed you. And then this also has that same axle and can be connected to the center as well, if you would prefer to do that. And I love that. And that is our first point of customization, like I said. And I think that is just so cool. But removing this one as well temporarily to give you a better look at the actual Hall of Armor and all of the individual sections. This hairpiece is kind of awkward, so I'm just going to pull that off for a second. This is just really cool. And you have all these 1x2 available spaces for not just the accessories if you want, but of course for the actual Iron Man suits. And you can take, the Mark 41 bones, you can put it there. You can take the Iron Man Mark V and then put it here. I mean, you have all these different available spaces for the individual minifigures. I just really want to drive home what you can do with this set. We're going to take these gates off, just all of them. We're taking all the gates off, and then we're going to unclip, let's just say 4 of these, the whole section, and we can just plop it right on top. I mean, and right there, you already have like the beginnings of the wine cellar just by doing that in this same set. And I mean, that's really great. If you don't like the middle piece, you can take it off. You know, if it kind of throws off your wine cellar and how you want it to look, bye. Doesn't have to be there. I mean, and you can just do these. I think that is so great. I mean, you can just, you know, again, unclip any of these and just put them anywhere you want, top or bottom, whatever. And again, the potential is just so, you know, like unlimited, and just kind of getting these gates out of the way really quick to just demonstrate how you can create the ultimate Hall of Armor just by doing this and then closing them around that. I mean, that is just fantastic looking. Or if you don't want to do that, you can still keep that connected, but you can take the station, you know, the desk that you saw a second ago. I'll have to reconnect the bricks. I took those off. You know, you connect the station here on the back, and then again, close all these sections over in a circular fashion. And you can use the ladder basically as a door. I mean, you can do whatever you want with these sections. And I mean, as a result, it's so much better design-wise, because all this customization you can do is better than just gimmicks like stud shooters, spring-loaded shooters, you know, flick fire missiles, whatever. The set does not rely on that. It relies on all of its potential with being able to interchange all these different sections however you want. And I think that's great. And you also have the satellite dish up here, which comes off very easily as well, only tacked on to one pair of these studs up here, and that has a hinge as well for some articulation. And then on the back wall here, you can see, I'll go ahead and remove some of these bricks here if I can, maybe. Yeah. On the far left, we have the Mark V suitcase armor, which of course is included with this set. You have the Striker suit, which unfortunately is not included with this set, but really just kind of has me like, you know, drooling, man, because you just look at that and what Lego, you know, has in mind for how they may have made that set. You got like what looks like a whole chest piece and like two massive new gauntlet pieces that would have been accurate to that particular armor. I mean, if this was a real minifigure, it looks like it would hands down be the best Iron Man suit Lego has ever made. And then as we continue over to the right, you can see we have even more blueprints of other Iron Man suits. Up on the top, it says House Party Protocol, status on standby, and we just have various other suits there as well, which actually don't have the helmets, but are instead just kind of like standard Lego minifigures almost. And then we have the red snapper down in the bottom right, and it just again has me drooling for what not only the Striker armor could have looked like, but also the red snapper. Those minifigures made by Lego could have been amazing, considering what we already saw them do with the Silver Centurion back in 2016 that recently made its way back into GameStops. So these designs are honestly some of my favorite Lego stickers I think they've ever made, like, period. And I know for a fact now that I have it in person, I will absolutely, like I said, be getting another one or two of these. You know, I personally would have absolutely picked up this set regardless of whether or not I was doing this video. Iron Man 3 was huge for my channel as I shifted away from the Clone Wars once it ended and really made the MCU the main focus of my channel. And so this set is just so nostalgic for me and just so great that I could not pass it up. And I highly recommend this set. It is $60. It should be $50. If you can swallow that extra 10 and get this set, it's fantastic and definitely not a letdown. You know, the Igor is a little disappointing. The Mark, you know, 1 is a little bit of a letdown as well because of the helmet. But other than that, this set is fantastic. Definitely make sure you pick this one up if you can. On that note, though, we're going to take a look at the box, the instruction manual, and we'll go ahead and finally wrap up this video. So this is my first opportunity getting to discuss the new Avengers Endgame set boxes like in person, and I love the new design. The white is just so great, and I love how deliberate, you know, like Lego, Marvel, Disney, how they were really trying to hold back on the title to the point where the title didn't even make it onto the boxes for the Lego sets. I think that's nuts. You won't find the Endgame, the word Endgame on any of the Lego sets, but you will find the original Avengers here: Tony, Black Widow, Cap. You have Professor Hulk, of course, and Captain Marvel, and it's just kind of nuts to think that this could be, you know, the last time we see any one of these guys on a box art for Lego Avengers sets. That's just kind of crazy to consider, but very possible, especially for Captain America, if you ask me. Captain Marvel up there as well, and then we have a really nice illustration of all of them on the side of the box here as well, and Lego's versions of those minifigures. This one is a piece of crap, but these are okay, and I will talk about the Quantum Realm suits and the new Hulk as we get to those sets later this week. And then on the back, again, just love the color blue and how, and again, in another effort to avoid spoilers, all the sets basically, you know, on the box art for the Lego sets are taken taking place at Avengers HQ. You can see that reflected in the background there, and all the features that I just showed you, and LEGO kind of doing their best on the back here to show you just how customizable this set really is. I didn't really cover the Outriders and how they can technically attack the the Hall of Armor if you want, but I think you could put that together. And then we have the Mark 50 sporting the actual size reference on the top there. For the Iron Man Hall of Armor, you do get 2 instruction manuals. The first one is basically taking you through the entire Hall of Armor itself, and then that finally wraps up around page 68 with no real decent advertisements after that. And then the second one is actually just for the Igor armor, and then Igor is a 31-page build, again with no other advertisements for the other Endgame sets, which is actually kind of surprising. Jarvis, create a new bioscan and isolate extract. Tony! Cap, how did you get in here? And what are you wearing? Oh, I'm from the future. We're going around trying to fix everything. How is this even? Well, I'm just dropping in to tell you not to destroy the extra suits. We could actually really use them in a few years when Thanos wipes out half the universe. Oh, and Killian is the real Mandarin, by the way. Pepper wanted you to know. Alright guys, there you go. That is going to do it for my first review on the new lineup of sets from LEGO for Avengers Endgame. The set is just a huge nostalgia trip for me, like I said, and I think that despite the problems, this set still is by far the best Iron Man set we have ever had, and I look forward to potentially in the future getting 1 or 2 more of these to stack up, like I also mentioned. But if you did enjoy this review and maybe found it informative, or if I did help you in deciding as to whether or not you plan on picking up this set, then definitely let me know by dropping a comment below, as I would love to hear from you. Otherwise, guys, I am working on Captain Marvel right now, finally trying to wrap this figure up as I still try to crank out these reviews over this next week. But unfortunately, there's not going to be a big Avengers Endgame showcase for release. I'm going to Star Wars Celebration in Chicago, and that's going to take up another week as it is. So really, I only have like this week and then technically 1 more week to work with, and it's just not enough time. But I will be making tons of Avengers Endgame minifigures over the course of the summer and throughout the year, and reviewing these next few LEGO sets over the course of this next week. So I really appreciate you being here, regardless of when I make stuff or post stuff, as I know you guys are so awesome, and I really appreciate it. And otherwise, yeah, you can keep up with me over on Instagram, Twitter, and Facebook, and all those places. And Patreon is also the first place where you'll see all my custom minifigures the earliest. That's where I've been posting all the progress photos of Captain Marvel, and where I will be posting all the Endgame progress before I post it anywhere else. So that's gonna do it, guys. It's crazy to think that I may have just reviewed like the last big Robert Downey Jr. Iron Man set. That's nuts to consider. And if that is the case, it's been one hell of a ride, and you know, I'm glad LEGO made this set. I really am. So I think that's gonna do it though. I'm gonna go. Okay, bye.